Okay, so now we're on to the last bit of the seasonal wrap-up show. We got 4 randos left and Mob Psycho at the end. So let's figure out what we're watching next. It is 2. Immoral Guild. I remember absolutely no one talking about this. Let's find out how it do.
Well, it wasn't offensively bad, but I am kind of shocked I made it through one full episode of Immoral Guild. Yeah, ecchi harem comedies don't seem to be my thing anymore. I'm sure there are some out there that are still good, but this one is not. I didn't find it, unfunny, but I didn't really laugh at anything. I think I laughed one time, maybe. And it's horny. It's definitely horny, but not as horny as I would have liked, to be honest. To be honest, I only stuck around through the first whole episode because I wanted to see what they were going to do with the second character, with the white mage, because she is notably cuter than the main girl. Which brings me to probably my biggest complaint about this series is it is fucking ugly. Not good. And it's mostly the character designs. More specifically, I don't think the actual designs are bad. I think that the art style they are using with these designs is bad. It looks very cheap and very unpolished. Just kind of slapped on the screen for the most part. And I think if there was more talent behind these designs, they could look really good, but they just don't. Also, I am horribly confused by this world because it looks like they kind of just slapped a fantasy adventure series on top of the real world. There are high schools in this that just look like high schools. They have the sailor uniforms and everything. The Adventure Guild secretary has a computer at her desk. It's so weird. I don't think this is very good, so let's move on.
Alright, Immoral Guild is off the list. 3 randos left. Let's see what we roll next. 1. I'm the Villainess, so I'm taming the final boss. Alright, this is another, I assume, Otome game parody kind of thing. Let's see how it is.
Yep, we're not done with the isekai yet! Actually, we might be done with it now. I think this is the last of the isekais. Maybe. We'll see. But this is probably the farthest I've made it into a Maho Films series so far. Although 2 episodes isn't particularly far. It's probably also the best looking Maho Films series so far. Maho Films also did By the Grace of the Gods, I'm Standing on a Million Lives, and their first work, which I found to be the most generic anime ever. If it's for my daughter, I'd even defeat the Demon Lord, which was so bland that I dropped it in 5 minutes because of how incredibly not interesting it was. This one's a little better. Not great by any stretch. This is fine overall, both in terms of the story and in terms of the visuals. The visuals, some of the color design's a little wonky in some of the more pastel scenes, but when it gets into the demon realm territory, I think it's a little better. And the character designs are pretty generic, but not incompetent. And the same can be said for the story. It's fine. If I finished this one, I could see myself giving it a solid or a light 6. The only thing that really stood out to me in terms of being like, oh, that was kind of interesting, is how incredibly like blunt and boisterous and forward the main character is. Like she really just fucking goes for it. But that's about it. And it feels kind of rushed overall. I'm really not getting a handle for a lot of the characters. So yeah, this one's just kind of average. It's okay. Let's move on.
Alright, Villainess is off the list. Down to 2 randos left, a drama and a comedy. Let's see which one we roll. 1, it's the drama, Raven of the Inner Palace. I've heard mixed things about this one. I know a lot of people liked it, a lot of people not so much. Let's give it a go.
Alright, I got through 2 episodes of Raven of the Inner Palace. That was mostly frustrating more than entertaining. I do kind of like the aesthetic of the Raven consort herself. Really strong character design. But outside of that, aesthetic's pretty generic. Outside of a few, like, interesting cinematic moments. But the story is really what annoys me about this series. Where it feels like it's not technically contradicting itself, but it does feel like it's contradicting itself. Well, actually, there are some moments where it just straight up contradicts itself, where it's like, this is the Raven consort. The Emperor has no contact with her. The Emperor immediately proceeds to have a ton of contact with her. Why even establish that she has no contact with the Emperor? And then there's like the moments where it's suggested that this is a very mysterious consort that not a lot of people know about, as seen by Juju, the character the very kind of bumbling side character that I'm not a particularly big fan of. And then episode 2 is immediately she's going around to everyone going, "Hello, I am the Raven consort. Please tell me everything I want to know." Okay. I also don't like that they immediately started infantilizing the Raven consort, turning her into a cute anime girl to be won over, making her like inserting very childish elements where it feels like they don't belong. Yeah, this was frustrating. And the mystery wasn't particularly good either. It was mostly like these first 2 episodes. They're mostly like it's like a 2-parter mystery thing, but it's mostly just a chain of this character told this character to do this, which made him have this character do that, and then that character and this character, and just like a chain of things that you just constantly had to keep track of. So not a fan of this one. Let's move on.
Alright, Raven of the Inner Palace is off the list. Last random one is My Master Has No Tail. Literally have no clue whatsoever what this is about, so let's find out.
Well, I don't really have any particular complaints about this one, but I'm also not particularly grabbed by it either. I got about a third through the 2nd episode of My Master Has No Tail, and it's fine. Like, the main character's this little mischievous Genki girl. She's kind of cute. The Rakugo master in this has this very cool beauty kind of energy to her. And it's decently funny sometimes, but not all that often. Art style's pretty simple and not bad by any stretch. Like, it's not messing anything up, but it's also not particularly interesting looking outside of like one or two moments. And the Rakugo scenes are fine. Like, there's certainly no Rakugo Shinju, I can say that much. Now, is it fair to compare this anime to something made by one of the best anime directors of this era? Probably not. It's certainly not trying to be that intense, but it's also, like, I don't have many frame of references for Rakugo outside of Rakugo Shinju and, I guess, Joshiraku? But even that one doesn't really have that many Rakugo performances in it. It's fine. I'm not particularly grabbed by it. If you want, like, some mellow, cute girls doing cute things show with Rakugo and some supernatural, like, yokai elements to it, I guess give this a shot, but I'm gonna skip it.
Alright, My Master Has No Tail is off the list, which means we are finally down to one show left from 2022. Mob Psycho 100, Season 3, let's fucking go.
Alright, just finished all of Mob Psycho 100, Season 3, the finale to Mob Psycho, and what a finale it was. Man, still trying to distill my exact thoughts down into what I thought of this series, but I think it was really interesting that pretty much all of this season revolved around the idea of honesty in terms of, like, both being honest with other people and being honest with yourself. In terms of with other people, we have the whole Psycho Helmet subplot with Dimple and Mob, which I didn't expect to cry over the lamest t-shirt design I've ever fucking seen, but I kind of did. Like, that moment where it was like I had absolutely no fucking clue where the Psycho Helmet plotline was going, and to have it end with Dimple being the one who was most honest with Mob about his shirt, and that being like the thing that binds these two characters together, and that they are like honest with each other about these things. That was just so fucking cool. Loved that reveal. Also, that normally when like anime says like, wow, this character's like sense of fashion is kind of lame, I'll be like, oh, not really, but in this case, holy shit, that shirt is lame. Holy crap. It was so bad. It was so bad. And like watching all the other characters be like, you sure you want to wear that? You sure? But not being totally upfront with him about, hey, that's not a great shirt. Man, I just really loved the resolution of that plotline and how it just sort of spiraled out into being honest about their relationship to this cult that they accidentally started, Dimple's relationship to power and what he actually wants to do, versus how he wants to interact with Mob and just be friends with him. Really enjoyed that. It is good. And then the second half of the series is, well, more like the last 4 episodes, the back third of this season, is about honesty with yourself. In the case of Mob, coming to terms with this psychotic, like uncontrollable power within him. The idea of being free to use his powers and not being afraid of hurting other people with them, just being completely free-spirited about it, while also contrasting that with Mob's like more docile personality of not wanting to hurt people. I am not going to be able to completely like explain how nuanced this take was. This is probably the most like in-depth and nuanced take on there is good and bad inside of everyone, like that concept. This is probably like one of the most like detailed takes on that I've seen, period. And I loved it. It was just such a great resolution to it, and having the final like solution to pulling Mob back out of this like psychotic break being Reagan also reconciling with the fact that he is a con man directly to Mob, like acknowledging that and apologizing for that. I really brought everything full circle in that. I also really like that it was kind of this was kind of implied, it kind of was implied in season 2 that Mob found out that Reagan was a con man, but they never really went anywhere with it. And so in this one, in this like final episode, it's kind of confirmed, like, yeah, Mob kind of knew from that point on, but was just didn't want to acknowledge it for one reason or another. So that tied up a loose end that I was curious about throughout this series. And yeah, this is just such a incredibly excuse me, just some incredibly detailed and stellar character writing. Mob is such an incredibly fascinating character with the immense amount of complications going on inside of him. I loved how they finally got down to the nitty-gritty, the true core of Mob as a character. Loved that. And I also love that they continued to build on what I would call the Superman theme that Mob has been going on with. I made a video for season 2 of 12 Days of Anime where I covered the first 2 seasons of Mob Psycho 100. It was called Becoming Superman, I think. You can go back and watch that. It's probably still good. I need to go back and rewatch it just to see my exact thoughts on it. But basically, it's like, by the end of season 2, Mob is doing his best to become like Superman, to become the person who can save everyone. But he wasn't quite there yet. And I won't say season 3 kind of, I won't say it abandons that metaphor, but it takes it in a different direction. It takes it in the direction of like, you can't be Superman if you can't save yourself. If you can't be honest with yourself, you cannot save other people. If you can't be honest with other people, like the Dimple Psycho Helmet plotline, you can't help them. You can't save them. So I really like how it kind of took kind of a very interesting left turn with this, which was kind of this season overall. Like, I really had, this is one of the few series where I'm like, I have literally no idea what is going to happen, like what direction it's going to take. And it's not like a particularly complicated plot line to understand. It's just, it it's so good at just like keeping you enough in the dark to not predict everything right away. Now, personally, I don't consider being able to predict like big climactic moments, like the general gist of big climactic moments. I don't consider being able to predict that to be a fault. But not being able to predict that, I would say, is also a plus. And this season just constantly kept me guessing, just constantly had me in a state of like, trust the plan. One knows what he's doing with these characters. Just trust where it's going to go. And I was very satisfied with where it went. I will say there are two like minor complaints I have about this series overall. One, the big climactic plot line. Mob's like rampage, I think, went on for a little too long. Or actually quite a bit too long, because it goes on for like 2.5 episodes. It's of just him storming through Seasoning City, just completely wrecking shit. And it's just like one battle after another. It's like Hanazawa gets his battle in, Suzuki gets his battle in, Ritsu gets his battle in, the bodybuilders get their battle in. And then finally Reagan gets his time in. It got pretty bloated, unfortunately, so it did start to drag in the lead up to the final Reagan moment. So that was a little unfortunate. I didn't dislike it, but there were points where I was kind of like, okay, let's go. But also it kind of wrote itself into that corner where it kind of had to do that because it had to wrap up a lot of these character plot lines. We had to have the Ritsu reveal of like, again, another like thing about honesty. Ritsu being honest about how he wants to relate to his brother, what kind of relationship to his older brother he wants to have. So you had to have that one in there. You kind of had to have the bodybuilders in there to be like, hey, Mob has like developed a pretty solid friend group that really cares about him. If I had to cut something, I probably would have cut the Hanazawa fight down, because that was like a whole episode, I think. Almost. You kind of had to have the Suzuki plotline in there to be like the bad guy from Season 2 repaying his debt to Mob for saving him. And also like him finally being honest with what he wants to do, and that he wants to be with his family. So, which is one of the reasons why he doesn't ultimately sacrifice himself, and he just like leaves with his son. I thought that was a really cool moment. So yeah, but yeah, that last stretch felt repetitive and dragged out through circumstances that it really couldn't do away with, unfortunately. And my other kind of complaint about this season is just episode 8 in general felt a little bit sloppy in terms of its presentation. Something about it, the pacing of it, specifically the micro pacing of it, like the shot to shot stuff felt a little wonky. And this was one of the few episodes where it was like, oh, the character designs actually feel really rough, as opposed to like the regular like intentional rough of this series. Other than that, though, this series looks fucking phenomenal as usual. I still think the peak fight. I'd have to rewatch the whole series, but I think peak fight was still Season 2. Both of the big fights in Season 2, whatever that dream sequence fight was halfway through the season, and then like the Suzuki fight at the end. But the fights in this were still absolutely fucking phenomenal. The Dimple fight at the end, where Dimple's facing off against the Divine Tree, so goddamn good. And Mob just completely wrecking shit as he goes through this city hella fun. Like, the Reagan chase sequence at the end was super fun. The Suzuki fight was really well done. Of this season, though, I think the Dimple fight is probably the best one. Just so incredibly explosive with color and with cinematography. That's another thing I noticed about this season in particular. It's probably true for the other seasons, but I just wasn't... my cinema brain was not mature enough at the time to notice it right away, but the shots in this show are just so goddamn good. The framing, the camera angle, the way things move is just so fucking impeccable. This really solidifies that Mob Psycho 100 is, like, across the board, is one of the best anime productions, period. It looks so good so often. Even in this, like, the dire straits of the anime industry that we're in right now, it looks so fucking good. Which is probably why it took 3 years to come out after Season 2. Yeah, Season 2 was 2019, I think. And then Season 3 was at the end of 2022, obviously. Which is, I would say, is like the healthy production schedule. Especially for something this high a quality. Also, again, much like Bocchi the Rock, the way it just breaks away from the traditional 2D medium to do some really great, like, alternative art design, the paint on glass stuff, just these extreme abstract color things, just so incredibly gorgeous to look at almost all the time. Like, really, it was only episode 8, really, where I was like, this isn't quite as good. Although the end credits sequence for episode 8 was fucking amazing. Just so damn good. That alien sequence, amazing. Yeah. It's Mob Psycho 100. I don't know what else to say about that. Incredibly solid ending for an incredibly solid show. I really like that it's like we got this. It really did combine the big fuck off action finale and the very heartfelt, down to earth emotional finale damn near perfectly. This is a show for the ages. Easily one of my favorite anime of all time. I think after Season 2 it was sitting somewhere in my top 25, and I think it's definitely staying up there. So yeah, loved this season. If for some reason you haven't gotten around to Mob Psycho yet, you should absolutely do it. It's one of the most solid anime productions of all time. So now, let's go figure out where to put it on the list.
Alright, Mob Psycho 100 Season 3 is finally complete. We are finally done. And we're going to scroll all the way up to the top here. And we're going to put you right in the number 3 spot for the year with a decent 9. Not all the way to a 10, but really damn close. Loved this final season of Mob Psycho. And with that, we have finally completed everything from 2022. It only took till fucking August, and this is probably not even when this video is going to go up. But, well, might be the end of August when this goes up. But, yeah. Thanks for sticking with me if you've been with me all this time. I'm thinking I might actually do like a compilation video of the top 10 here. And then maybe do like some additional stats and whatever. Just combine all of the seasonal wrap-up stuff from the top 10 into one video. So that'll come out probably a week after this if you care to see that. And also, like I said, it's already August, so it's time for winter 2023. And then spring. And then summer. I have a lot to catch up on. So, see you next time.